The reality is that going through any kind of disappointment, any kind of heartbreak can be a very difficult experience for a lot of people. And for many, whether it be you or maybe someone you know, can be struggling with the process of fully getting past that. Now, some of you might say, well, listen, I'm past it already, I'm fine, I'm good. But what you've done is you've kind of learned how to cope and manage and push it to the side, but you still need more of a true release. While others of you are currently struggling, the person maybe is continuously be on your mind, or maybe not the person, but the situation, you understand why it happened. And so I really want to help guide you to how you can start improving that feeling of heartbreak, how you can start to move yourself in a much better, more positive direction, because dwelling and staying where you are is only going to hold you back. Okay? So one of the first things I want you to do, and if you do this, you're going to start to see your heartbreak improve very much so, is recognize that many times, or if not all the time, rejection is just redirection to bigger and better. All right? Or some may say rejection is just God's redirection to better in your life. It's hard for us to view, let's just say, a relationship that we desired end because we are viewing it as, this is that great thing that I believe in. This is that thing that I feel like I want in my life and can make me happy. Maybe, yeah, we had some issues. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but I believe in the potential of this situation. And when a breakup occurs or disappointment occurs, because sometimes heartbreak isn't just from a relationship, it could be from a potential relationship, something that you were pursuing and it fell apart. But either way, there's that feeling of rejection. There's that feeling of, why couldn't this work out? There's this feeling of, sometimes for some people, why wasn't I good enough? Rather than understanding, no, this just isn't where you belong. And even if in your heart of hearts you feel like, but this is my person. All right, but that doesn't mean you belong here now. And regardless, you need to be redirected onto a path that will allow you to receive what is better, whether that be reconciling with this person, but in a much more healthier manner and at a better time, or moving in a completely new direction to receive someone else, or this could be opening the door to careers and blessings that you can't even fathom right now. But one way or another, you have to understand, if it wasn't working here now, it's because it's supposed to work for me in a different place. I'm supposed to take on a new path in my life. So when we understand that we are being redirected, we now have to ask ourselves, okay, where should I be focusing my energy? Where should I be trying to lead myself to? Or better yet, in my opinion, where does God want me to go right now? What does God want me to do right now? Because if we turn our focus to that, we will allow ourselves to not stay dwelling and paralyzed in this place of, why did this happen? Why couldn't it work out? Why did I just give all my time and energy for it not to be returned to me in the way that I desired it to be? And so it's a tough pill to swallow. But again, I repeat that rejection is your redirection. Now, I want to pivot a little bit because I mentioned to you, sometimes heartbreak isn't just a relationship that ends. Sometimes heartbreak is a situation or relationship you were hoping to have happen and it didn't work out. You may have had a man on your radar and you thought this could maybe be the guy for me, right? And maybe you tried to shoot your shot, or maybe, you had a conversation with him and it didn't go anywhere. And that leaves you hurt. That leaves you disappointed. But again, rejoice in the fact that as much as this sucks, I now have the clarity that says, this isn't it. This isn't where I belong. And if if this is a door that's closing, then there's a door that God is opening that's bigger and better. So no matter what it is you experience, know that you have to shift your focus elsewhere and move on the path that's going to be truly best for you. All right, so before we continue, I do have a resource for you to check out for those of you who need healing, right, or want to learn how to properly heal. Check out my book, Love After Heartbreak. You can go to loveafterheartbreak.com, click the link in the description or in the comments section. The book lays out for you step by step what I tell my clients on how to heal and truly heal in a way that you fully release all that negative energy, all that hurt, all that disappointment once and for all, that whether you realize it or not is holding you back in life and having a very negative impact on you. So check out the book, follow the steps. I'm telling you, it's going to be an amazing experience. Not necessarily easy, but an amazing experience, okay? Now, with that said, another thing for you to do for your heartbreak to start getting a lot better is fully express yourself, okay? So I won't get into all the steps in the book right now, but one of the steps includes writing a letter, okay? And there's a very specific way to write the letter. I won't dive into that right now, or all of that right now, but what I will explain is that letter writing is extremely effective for you to release the emotions that you've been holding on to. Look at that hurt, that disappointment, that suppressed emotion as like trapped energy in your body. That if you don't release, it starts to wreak havoc because it creates emotional stress. Because you don't heal by suppressing, you heal by releasing, okay? So when you suppress, you create emotional stress. The body just knows stress. Whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whatever, stress is stress. And stress is the number one inducer of disease. Stress is the number one trigger to sending someone into the emergency room. So when you are holding on to too much emotional stress, it creates all kinds of problems, not just emotionally, not just mentally, but physically as well. Okay, so we got to release that. And writing a letter is a great tool to do that. Now, I will say this. One of the keys to in the letter writing process that I lay out in the book is you want at least one version of the letter to be just an emotional detox. What I mean by that is a letter where you're just letting everything out, holding nothing back. Because many of you may say, well, I've expressed myself about this issue before. Yeah, but sometimes we express ourselves trying to find the right way to say it, trying to be proper with our approach or whatever the case may be. Or we let out a lot in a moment, but we don't let everything out that we're holding on to. And so the letter will allow us to let out everything, raw emotion, because how you feel is how you feel. And that needs to be released no matter how bad it is. Like, for example, there's a lot of people, might be you, who deep inside you have unresolved resentment or anger or hurt with God. All right? And a lot of people, well, they tell themselves, well, it's wrong to be mad at God. So instead of addressing it and releasing it, they suppress it. But they don't understand that because it's still there and has not been released, it is causing a disconnect between them and their spirit. It is causing a disconnect between them and God. And the only way to truly get to a place of peace and fully reconnect spiritually is to release how you feel. God knows you're mad. God knows you felt some kind of way about how things didn't work out in that situation, or how you may have felt like he let you down. Okay? Not being honest about that doesn't serve anyone any good. You need to release it, okay? And be honest about, no matter how negative it is, no matter if you say some nasty things towards God, it is better to speak your truth, let it set you free, and then once that has been let out of your system, you can now come back and really get things right with you and God, all right? And so that same principle is going to apply to even people in your life. But for a lot of you, that's going to be a great place to start, is with God, right? And there's no reason to be in denial about that issue if it exists for you. But bottom line is, we've got to release. We've got to let things out. Again, it's like having an emotional detox. A lot of people have so much, when you think about a physical detox, they've been eating so bad for so long. They have all this bad stuff piling up in their body, so that even when you try to eat right, you're not getting the full impact of the good food because you're just piling it on top of bad food, a bad foundation. Well, the same thing can happen to a lot of people emotionally, where they've taken in all this negativity, all this bad stuff, all this hurt and disappointment that they suppress. And then they try to say, okay, I'm just going to try to have a positive mindset. And it's hard to do that or sustain that because you're just piling it on top of all this negativity. If you really want the full effect of the positivity, you have to release the negative. Release all those bad emotions. And then you will get the fullness of it, and you will start to feel much better, and your heartbreak will improve. All right, so here's another way for your heartbreak to start improving right away. And that's for you to stop analyzing and start accepting. So I'm a firm believer that acceptance brings peace, all right? And one of the reasons why we remain in conflict, we remain lacking peace, is that rather than accepting situations for what they are, we're too busy trying to analyze them. We're too busy trying to understand, why didn't this work out this way? What could I have done differently? Maybe if I would have done this, maybe if I would have listened to this person, maybe if I would have talked to that person. Like, we're running through all these different scenarios and trying to analyze. Or, why didn't he step up and do better by me? Why didn't he stop entertaining that woman? Why didn't he, whatever it is, why didn't he start to apply himself so that we can have a more stability in the household? And you're trying to analyze things that, one, you may never get the real answers to. All right? Like, closure is a beautiful thing to have, but sometimes the best closure is just accepting you deserve better. It's just accepting that this person cannot give you what you need, okay? And if we can get our questions answered, I'm not against that. I'm not against seeking out clarity when possible. But I need you to understand that no matter what, you may never know. And so sometimes we just have to tell ourselves, you know what? We don't know what the answer is. We don't know why this happened. What we do know is, where do we stand as of now with this situation? What we do know is, this situation has not worked out the way I hoped. All right. What we do know now is, I need to be able to move forward and get myself back on track. And when we can learn to accept, we free ourselves from the baggage of this situation weighing us down. All right. Now, real quick, to go back to the whole issue of when we are able to see closure. Now, I believe one of the best things to do is fully express yourself and get things off your chest. And again, if you're in a position where you can have a conversation and you can ask certain questions and they're going to be willing to be honest and forthcoming, you do that. And of course, you approach that in a very calm manner, because the purpose of it is not to lash out at the individual. The purpose of it is to see if you can gain some clarity. But you just have to understand that, one, they may not answer your questions, or two, they may not answer your questions honestly, right? They may give you bits and pieces, but not the full thing. So you got to go and understand that this is an attempt to gain more information, but it doesn't mean I will get all the information. And ultimately, that's okay. Because again, it's about accepting this is now what it is. And so to learn how to accept more, we have to practice these things in every aspect of our lives. Because again, sometimes it's not about a heartbreak that we're going through. Maybe it's not that severe to us, but there's always little disappointments here and there. There's always little things that we would have wished a different outcome would have happened. And we just have to learn to say, all right, it is what it is. Let's move forward. It is what it is. God has something better for me. It is what it is. Can't focus on what I can't control. Put your energy on the things that you have the power to create, to change, to improve, and let that be where your energy and your time is placed. All right, so another way for your heartbreak to start improving right away is you got to start pouring into you. Now, I know a lot of you here like love yourself and self-love and all these things, which is great, but many of you don't really know how to implement that, how to apply that to your life. So when I say start pouring into you, let's start with some foundational things. One thing that I learned a long time ago when I first went to a therapist for some stuff, which this is pre-Stephan Speaks, and she taught me, she said, whenever you're going through something, whenever you're battling issues, the most important thing for you to do is take care of your health. Make sure you're eating well, make sure you're exercising, make sure you're getting proper sleep. Because when those things are off, it makes handling everything so much more difficult, okay? And so now if we're eating poorly, not getting sleep, right, not exercising, it's easier to fall into depression. It's easier to fall into this very negative place. It's easier to dwell and stay stuck in all these different things because we're not giving our bodies the fuel that it needs to be able to handle the emotional stress and the things that are coming at us. So if you are struggling, start to look at how am I eating? What improvements can I make there? It doesn't mean you gotta be perfect, but let's just try to move it into a better direction. Let's look at, okay, am I sleeping enough? If I'm not sleeping enough, what can I do to improve my sleep? One thing I'm gonna throw out there, if you check with a doctor or do your research, one thing that helps me with sleep, magnesium glycinate. All right, I ain't no doctor, but I'm always looking up stuff. I'm always trying things. It has worked well for me. So throwing some magnesium into your life, that could be helpful for your nighttime sleep. Of course, turning the phone off, maybe at least 30 minutes before bedtime, making it darker, room temperature, all these things can help. But it's important that you prioritize getting more rest. That will help you have more energy and more strength to feel positive and to be able to shake off those rough moments that you're trying to work past and work through this breakup or this disappointment you're experiencing. But then beyond the health aspect of it is, what are you doing for yourself to be happy? Like, ask yourself, what are things I enjoy and how can I start adding that more into my life? So for example, for me, I love competition. I love basketball. All right. So if I am going through something, or if I'm stressed or upset, going to a court and shooting basketball helps me relieve that stress, helps me feel better. I feel energized after a session of shooting on the court, doing drills, things of that nature. That's my thing, okay? For some of you, it might just be lighting candles and listening to music, right? And not sad, depressing music, something that's upbeat or something that fills you up, fills up your spirit with positivity, okay, or with energy, right? Whatever the case may be, maybe walks in the park, I was going to say shopping, but I don't want y'all to have retail therapy and go overboard. But, maybe window shopping might make you feel good. You ain't got to spend a bunch of money. Just go look at some nice things, right? Whatever it is that puts a smile on your face, that puts you in a better mood, start to structure time to add that into your life. I know that some of these things we can't do every day, but how can maybe I can get it into my routine weekly, right? And that will also help. As well as starting your day off with what I believe prayer and meditation and positive affirmations. So I'm a big believer in, sometimes I wake up and I already feel like it's going to be a rough day. But what I do is I pray, and I thank God for what's going to be a good, positive, productive day. I speak it as if it's done. I affirm to myself, no, everything is going to go well today. Now, does that guarantee that every single time there ain't never been a rough day? No, but more times than not, it ends up being solid, ends up being good. So whatever affirmations you have to speak into yourself, praying, all these things, meditating, those are great ways, because how you start your morning can really dictate how the rest of the day goes. So you don't want to start off frantic and crazy. You want to have that quiet time to kind of just get your mind in the right place and get your day moving in the right direction. All right, so let's keep this going. And another thing you can do to start improving your heartbreak immediately is embrace forgiveness. All right. So there's a huge misconception a lot of people have when it comes to forgiveness. Number one, understand that forgiveness is for you, not for the person. All right. Forgiveness is your freedom. You know, there's that quote or that analogy that's used. They say to not forgive is like to drink poison expecting the other person to die from it. You are only hurting yourself with a lack of forgiveness. All right. You're not allowing yourself to release and be free from this negative experience that you went through. Now, understand that forgiveness does not mean you're saying what they did is okay. Doesn't mean you're saying it's acceptable in any kind of way. It's just saying I'm not going to hold on to it any longer. I'm going to release this. Okay. Now, releasing it and forgiving someone, and let's just apply it to the context of a relationship. You can forgive and still recognize you two aren't for each other. You can forgive and still recognize things need to end right now. All right. So forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. It just means, again, I'm not going to hold on to this. I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm not going to allow this to affect me any further. I'm going to let it go and release. Now, I have to say this for those of you who are believers. The other reason why forgiveness is so huge is because it's very clear biblically. If we want God's forgiveness, we have to give forgiveness to others. All right. We can't be withholding forgiveness for people, and then when we face God one day, be like, oh, you can't forgive me. It's like, well, nah, you ain't forgive them. Like that was one of the stipulations. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the stipulations. So it's important to understand we cannot in any way believe that not forgiving is okay. Now, I know there's some people that will say, oh, well, some things are just unforgivable. Personally, I believe everything is forgivable, but some things are unacceptable. All right. So again, I can forgive in the sense that I'm not going to hold on to this. I'm not going to hold on to this anger, this disappointment, this resentment towards you. But it doesn't mean I have to accept what you did to me in the sense of, again, saying it's okay. Or that I'm going to allow you to remain, whether it be in a romantic relationship or business relationship or friendship or whatever, just because I forgave you. I can recognize, no, we need to go our separate ways. All right. But not forgiving is not going to change anything. It doesn't help you in any kind of way. So it's important that we learn forgiveness. But I think in understanding the ability to give forgiveness, we have to start to understand that hurt people. And a lot of what people do, it's not even about you. It's about their unresolved issues within themselves. Like when I have a client and they talk to me about how their parent hurt them, right? 99 times out of 100, really, I want to say 100 out of 100 because I've never seen anything different. If we look into the life of the parent, they have trauma as well. They have abuse. They have abandonment. They have something that has happened to them as well. And people are just continuing the cycle because they're not healing or they're not forgiving, right? And that ends up playing out in different ways. Now, some people may say, well, I've been hurt, but I haven't hurt others. You may not realize how you've hurt others. And even if you can make the argument that you haven't hurt anyone else, you've been hurting yourself the whole time. There's damage you're doing to yourself because one of the other biggest battles that people face isn't just about forgiving others, but it's about forgiving yourself, right? Because sometimes we dwell on, well, maybe I made certain mistakes or maybe I could have done this better. Or for a lot of women, the issue may be, why did I stay with him so long? And it's like, everybody makes mistakes. The key is we learn from them, we grow, we move forward. We can't dwell on them. We can't hold them over our own head. We can't beat ourselves up. And so we have to be willing to forgive. And when we understand that everyone falls, I don't care who you are, everyone falls short in life at times. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has made a bad decision. Everyone has done something in a moment that maybe they regret and wish they would have taken back. It is part of the human experience. All right? And we have to give ourselves more grace and even give others more grace. In understanding that they're a human being, they have their issues. We don't need to internalize their actions. We don't need to dwell on what happened. These are one of the unfortunate things that happen in life, all right, and with a lot of different people. But understand also that I always tell people forgiveness isn't always just a snap of the finger thing. Meaning, all right, you can forgive today, right? And you're feeling good. And then 2 weeks from now, something happens that brings you back to that negative place. And people then have a habit of allowing themselves to kind of fall down that hole and get back into dwelling in that negative moment. And what you have to do is what I call practicing the forgiveness. You have to catch yourself and say, no, I forgave them. I forgave me. What's done is done. I'm moving forward. That's it. Like you have to remind yourself that we're putting this behind us. We're putting this behind us. We're moving forward. We've accepted it for what it is. And when you practice the forgiveness and consciously stay on trying to always move forward and not going backward, you start to notice those triggers happen less. You start to notice they're not as intense as they once were. And you can reach a point where they no longer faze you at all, where you no longer have these moments of dwelling on that mistake or dwelling on what this person did, and you truly are free from it. So practice that forgiveness, embrace forgiveness, and understand it will set you free. All right, so ultimately, I want to leave you with this. Heartbreak is something that I believe we all experience at least once in our life. And understand that there are people out there who will tell you, well, you never fully heal. Healing is an ongoing process. And I respectfully disagree. I believe that you can get to a place of full healing. I believe that you can fully overcome the situations. Yes, there will always be new situations that may come about. However, once we learn how to heal from our current past issues and experiences, nothing will hurt us or hit us the same going forward. Because we will have a different perspective with how we process things. We will have an understanding of how we bounce back from things. We will learn to not internalize things. We will become better equipped, and therefore we will be able to overcome the new situations easier, or at least have a much better chance at it not bringing us back to that very bad place our previous situations have. And know that, again, despite the inevitability of disappointment and hope, know that greatness, blessings, amazing things are waiting for you. And as long as you keep pushing forward, you will reach those things. As long as you apply yourself as need be, as long as you allow God to guide you, you will receive good. And I have to say this, sometimes what we perceive as bad is a setup for something amazing. It's like the first point I made, where rejection is just redirection to better things. And sometimes a missed opportunity is just us being, again, it's basically the same thing. Rejection being redirection. It's saving us for something that's bigger and better, okay? And we just can't see it at the moment. So understand that when we start to look at all that happens to us as it's happening for a reason, and the reason is for something good for us. When we're allowing God to be at the forefront of our lives, then we don't have to stress about things as much. We don't have to worry about things. We're still human. We'll still have our moments, but we got to get ourselves out of that negative place and remind ourselves that better is waiting ahead. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on the 7 reasons why God hasn't sent the man for you yet. An amazing, great man can come your way tomorrow, and you'll be like, something's gotta be wrong. You'll be like, this dude.